pay, so you can be NNB also.
But I didn't know I didn't know that the women they love chill past the men.
Oh, really?
Yes, I saw a lot of women there. Yes.
Oh, Ghanaian women, we love to chill.
Yeah,
you
but
know
for
this.
Corporate Connect, yes, I saw a lot of women there.
Yeah. We don't joke. Ghanaian women don't joke with their chilling. No. We are the backbone of this economy. Let me tell you something, okay? So when it's time to chill, we really chill. So
you guys
ladies,
have the money now.
We have the money. Ghanaian women, Branayan spending. Why? Come and spend on your.
Take your colleagues out. Those guys they love you. They eye.
The ones, as Johnny would say, come and help me fix my laptop.
Yeah.
Come and help me.
Come and help me do this. The printer is not working on the Friday corporate night. Take them out.
Are you talking about Akofa and
yeah, Akofa Nyamoshi. Akofa.
On the wind down.
and you call, please, ma'am, I'm trying to have access to it. It's not opening. And then the guy will quickly come from the IT and the engineering department.
We'll take all of you
and
out.
all of us will benefit from his appearance.
The month is also dedicated to you men anyways. We're halfway through the month of June.
This propaganda must end.
Yeah, so maybe for the Father's Day.
The father, those are preludes.
Bring your husband there. You see, last week I saw this lady there. Johnny, I was shocked.
I'm detached from this.
The woman, she no get legs. She no get legs, so
yeah.
She was on that pole and you know that thing.
Yeah.
And she no get
limbs.
Yes.
I mean,
and the way she was dancing. So I told myself, happiness is free. No matter your circumstance, you can still be happy. Yeah. They can go to our Facebook page. They will see her dancing. I was shocked. Corporate Connect, Charlie, full of entertainment.
It's for everybody.
Everybody.
So tonight, what are we to expect, Helen?
Well, as we set off the tone last time, just come and network with like-minded people. You know, we have live performances as well. We have something very exciting coming your way. Some new artists for you to also get to know. Tasty Grills. As soon as you enter the place, you see that the steam and the smoke, you see that is that time for some tasty meat. Chill drinks as well. Anything you could want.
Aroma all over the place.
Thank you.
And they have some good food as well.
Yeah.
At the Gold Coast restaurant.
Go cool them up.
The food is good.
Yeah.
We didn't see William there the other time.
We did. Last 2 weeks.
Editor. Baba.
You know, so those guys where they stress.
Yes.
Where they get
always working.
Responsibilities like William.
Thank you.
You know, William is responsibilities chap. He got to at his level in society. So please, we please research people to come and spend 2 hours. You come and spend 2 hours. So please come and spend 2 hours with us. Those, you know, you have a tight schedule and all,
that's
but
right,
you just come and spend just 2 hours.
Right.
No, I'm not talking to William now. I'm talking to those who are busy. They have a tight schedule like William.
That's true.
Okay,
you know,
great.
2 hours.
Okay,
the entry is free.
Right. We'll have a conversation, correction to Daddy's Day, Daddy's Month. But I want to do something quickly. Activate the phone lines. Let me hear what's on your heart. It's Friday. What's on your heart? 055-924-2717, 055-924-2717, and 055-691-0154. What's on your heart? There are lots and lots of issues happening. Charles Bishop has been able to, appear before a court, gotten the court to grant it an injunction, interim injunction, right? The 10 days. Preventing the Office of the Special Prosecutor from arresting him. The Office of the Special Prosecutor is insisting that they do not need a warrant to arrest, but they can just go in there and arrest if they want to. Some people have questioned the fact that the Office of the Special Prosecutor will invite you or direct you to appear, and then when you appear, they can pick you up. Interesting thing I saw yesterday was that, you know, that MC in the Ashanti region who gave monies to people or caught on tape saying that he gave monies to people to endorse him as the MC. His lawyers were very vehement. They said we can't admit the video in court, blah blah blah. Well, the court in Kumasi yesterday said the video can be admitted. But the interesting thing I saw is that Charles Bishop's case here, the substantive matter, will be held on the 22nd of June 2023. The issue in Kumasi will also be held on the 22nd of June 2020. Both cases have been adjourned to the same day. I'm wondering how the Office of the Special Prosecutor will be able to deal with both at the same time. Because they are able to deal with it. But then again, there are people who have also said that the office of the special prosecutor is a creation of law, and so they must act within the confines of the law. Because now it does appear that there's some level of abuse of authority that's going on around. I mean, I'm just speaking the thoughts of people out there. Because yesterday, the office of special prosecutor, clarified a couple of things. That they don't need a warrant, number one, and that if Charles Bisu and his lawyers have gone to the court to tell the court about a warrant, a bench warrant, and all of those ones, it doesn't really mean anything, because in the first place they haven't issued a warrant. So, well, no matter what the court has said, they still are going ahead with their wanted notice, and that Mr. Bisu still remains a wanted man. So in the minds of Mr. Bisu and his lawyers, they have been able to get the court to say, keep off, you can't arrest me. In the mind of the OSP, they say, we don't need a warrant. We didn't issue a warrant in the first place. So what did you go to court to do? You are still a wanted man. If we see you, we'll pick you up. Faniform.
My understanding, does he have multiple cases before the OSP?
Yes, he does.
And so the wanted notice, was it in respect of the Frimpong wanted report?
That's right.
Then that one, they may not need a warrant.
Yes.
So if there's a warrant, they will need to investigate what the warrant is for.
But there's no warrant. No. According to the Office of the Special Prosecutor, they haven't issued a warrant. And that
in any of the cases
no. In some of the cases they have, but they say.
I mean, I'm talking about Bisu because he has a number of cases.
Yes, in this particular one, I want us to focus on this particular one. Yes,
of course, that one.
For which he has been declared a wanted man, because in the previous ones he wasn't declared a wanted man, right? For this particular one, they insist that they haven't issued a warrant. They don't need a warrant, right? And that whatever Mr. Bisu and his team have gone to court to do is neither here nor there, because they even went ex parte on their own, not without them. Okay, so that's what they are looking for him.
Johnny, quick question.
If they find him,
is it with regards to the notice that we saw on social media? They had the picture there. What do you call that type of communique?
You're a wanted man.
You're a wanted man.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the legal implications?
You're being wanted for corruption and corruption-related activities, which is the core mandate of the OSP.
Okay. That is not what constitutes a warrant.
No.
It's just a notice to say this individual is wanted by so-and-so.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
So the warrant, my understanding is that if
they
intend to arrest you and they find that arresting you may be difficult, there's something around you that will not allow them to pick you easily, then they will have to go for a warrant.
And that is obtained via the courts.
Yes, they will go for a warrant.
Okay.
So this case, and they have not invited him.
Okay.
They have, in the case of Frimpong Boateng, the understanding we have is that they directed him to come.
Okay.
And once they use the word direct, it means they have arrested you. They didn't invite you, because they are also working as a police unit, although they are in a specialized zone. That's why we call them Office of the Special Prosecutor. So as soon as they direct you to come, you know that you are literally being arrested, and that's why they will ask you to come with your lawyers.
I found that quite strange, because
they say they didn't invite them, but they directed him.
By semantics,
because if you look at the ordinary meaning of invite, it doesn't have any legal backing.
Because I can choose not to honor.
But if an authority directs you, that direct has a little authority.
You see,
in there.
I think when I saw the letter that Okujeto Ablakwa put out on his honorable MP for Northtown put out on his Twitter page, in respect of Professor Frimpong Boateng, who had been arrested and granted bail 2 weeks prior to we getting to know about it, because he started speaking. The letter said he was being directed to appear before the OSP, and that he can come with a lawyer of his choice. And he was being directed to appear for an interview.
Because if you are arrested, you'll be interviewed.
But I'm saying
all the elements of that letter.
No, but you see, the letter didn't say that he is being directed to come to be arrested.
No. If they use the word direct, they don't have to add arrest.
Yes.
That's why I was staying on the word direct and invite.
Yes, but
the ordinary meaning is what we have to go with.
Yeah, but the point is that you direct me to appear before you.
Yes.
You even tell me to bring my lawyer of my choice.
Yes, because of the word direct.
Right. And then you say I'm coming for an interview.
Yes, because if that's why you need a lawyer to guide you in that interview.
Okay.
And because if you are invited and you come, there's no, as Helen said, and as I understand, invitation is in its ordinary meaning. You are invited, you can decide to go or not. But the word direct, I mean, if there's a directive from the top, you have to comply.
Why does the OSP, working as a specialized whatever it is, and operating like the police, because the director of the OSP are like commissioners of police, equivalent to commissioners of police. Why are they not doing the things as the police would do?
Because they are a specialized unit.
But you're a specialized unit created by law.
See, if there's a regular unit that does regular things that the police do, and you're also doing a similar things but in a specialized way. This one, they are specialized because they deal with specific crimes, corruption and corruption related only. You understand what I'm saying? So their operations will be similar to the police but not the same. Will be similar to the police but not the same.
Yeah, but the
point, way they will not. They are commissioners of police, but they will not wear police uniform. What directs their actions are in an act. Right. 959, if I remember.
Yes.
And there's an airline that directs them.
There are a couple of airlines actually.
So they are saying that they are a specialized unit. The police can come to your office, your home, put their hands on you, put handcuff on you, and they decide how to arrest you. But they are careful in the choice of words that they use to arrest you.
Johnny, I'm picking from you that the opinion online is that if we are not careful in understanding the remit or the boundaries of the OSP, things could be happening that are not within their remit on our blind side.
The OSP itself, I'm sure at this point, recognizes that people have a certain perception about them, which perception they're trying to correct.
Exactly.
But you see,
what is the perception? The
perception is that they are overstepping their boundaries. The perception is that they are doing political bidding. The perception is that they are trying to be the monarchs of all they survey. The perception is that they are trying to be too special, even though they are specialized. That's the opinion of the public. And once the public begin to have an opinion like you, so for example, the OSP's identification and understanding of what corruption is may be related to monetary stuff. But for example, if you read the Frimpong Boateng report, it talks about the fact that Mr. Kumadoe Nkrumah, as Minister for Information, a member of the committee, who Frimpong Boateng says abandoned the committee, put journalists in a room, according to Frimpong Boateng, and influenced them to publish stories that will tarnish his image. Influence peddling, in my opinion, is corruption. So, if the Office of the Special Prosecutor, for example, thinks that Mr. Kumadoe Nkrumah cannot be invited because there's no element of corruption, the public will have a problem. Because if I put Helen and William in a room and I say, let's publish something against Asoriba, and indeed that's what Frimpong Boateng is saying, and indeed that publication comes out, it makes the headline, makes editorials, it makes front pages. Are you suggesting to me that influence peddling is not corruption?
Or is it the opinion of the OSP that this particular one is not relevant?
Corruption has been defined in the law. You understand what I'm saying?
Corruption is not only financial corruption.
No, that's what I'm saying. You see, your idea of as for corruption, the general meaning of corruption, even if you have a certain metal and it's rusting, it is corrupting. You know what I mean? So the word corruption can be used in several ways. But when it comes to crime, it has been defined in Act 30, Criminal and Other Offences Act. So that's what the OSP is saying, that what you sit outside the law and think that is corruption, they will not see it as corruption. Because if I try to tarnish your image, that is defamation. And that kind of crime they do not deal with. So that's why there's, like Johnny said, there's a lot of perception about their work. Somebody will say like, this man has done this, why won't you go and pick him and you are picking this one? Because in the eyes of the public, all crimes are crimes and the OSP should be interested in all crimes. But they are saying that there are specialized units that is mandated to deal with a certain crime only. So if there's murder, OSP will not be interested.
Got it.
If you go and steal, the OSP will not be interested. Because stealing too has been defined. But you see, when you talk about stealing, you should define stealing only in the remit of the law.
Okay.
Because our idea of stealing as individuals who are outside the law may be different from what the law says. For instance, if I go to a shop, I pick perfume, I put it in my pocket. I pick spray, I put it in my pocket. Have I stolen? The ordinary person will say I have stolen. But per the law, once I haven't left the shop with the intention to deprive the owner of those items, the use or benefit, that is what is stealing.
But you see,
so we should be careful how we look at words and how they are defined outside the law. That's what the OSP is making me understand.
But you see, but you see, the OSP, it doesn't lie in the mouth of the OSP to give interpretation to the law. Interpretation of the law is in the bosom of the court.
No, they are not. They are not interpreting the law. They are just directing
you see
that their activities are captured in the law.
But I'm saying that interpretation and understanding of the law is in the bosom of the court.
Okay.
So the OSP can say, well, we have been established by law A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, whatever it is. And per our understanding of the law, this is how we think we should apply the law. Right? And this is where William's point will come in, that if you think that the OSP is not playing by the book, because they are creation of law first of all, so they have to be lawful.
Of course.
Then you can go to court and seek an interpretation, which is what Charles Bishop and his team did. And the court found it, the Human Rights Court too found it worthy. Judge Abudakwe said, look, what the OSP is, I give you 10 days, so that within 10 days I restrict them from arresting you and all of that. Now, if, for example, stealing, all right, if you, all the examples that William gave, there's supposed to be an end game, right? Now, what is the end game? I put people in a room to influence them to achieve what? Because if the man is supposed to be the boss of an interministerial committee on illegal mining, and under him he's complaining that people have been given licenses to go and mine when ban on mining had been in effect, this and that and that and that and that and all of that, and then based on the reports you put out there, the man is de-incentivized to continue with the fight, and galamsey continues to happen. What have you done? You have corrupted, because galamsey is so I'm saying that the public can have their own understanding of the law. You as OSP can also have your own understanding of the law in trying to apply the law, but in the bosom of the judge and the court. That is where the interpretation lies. So that if a certain Mr. Kumadoe Nkrumah, who is information minister, is being accused or alleged by Mr. Professor Frimpong Boateng to have put journalists in a room to say, tarnish his image, publish such stories about him, to what end? Number one, did Mr. Nkrumah give the journalists money to do what he's doing? Does that amount to corruption? William has edited a newspaper before. He still edits news here on 3FM. We know the cost of paid for stories. We know the cost for headline stories. We know the cost for front page stories. Did Mr. Kumadoe Nkrumah pay for those stories to be splashed on all the, and to what end? With whose money? So when you look at the nuances like that, then the OSP now would have to come to the table with further and better particulars.
Johnny, what I'm picking from what you're saying is that with regards to the reports, that at least, are you saying that we should see the OSP take some interest in even letting us know that as per this report, these are the cases that we will be, or these are the issues we will be pursuing, and these are the issues that we will not be pursuing?
Yeah, I get, so there's a 35 page.
Yes.
The OSP cannot keep us in the dark and say we are investigating and they are picking and choosing. We have received a copy of the report.
Yes.
We have looked at the report. These are the areas of our interest in the report. It settles the matter.
And then they'll say, well, as per our remit, this is what we are supposed to handle.
But if you hold the report, and then one we hear from Boateng has been picked, then we hear Charles Bishop, then you say, oh, there are even others before us. We started in October. We are not.
You think clarity will help the perception?
Are you working for yourself?
No,
you're working for
see,
us, and you see,
to be fair,
there is clarity that's important to repair the public perception that has been created in the past. Because if you listen to the tone of the OSP speaking on Joy FM the other time, it does suggest that they actually have just started work, and that the regime of Martin Alamisi Benskaiser Amidu did not really do anything because they were not resourced. Even now, they still say they are under resourced and all of that, right?
This is right.
So now, with the numerical strength that is shrunk and the resources that you don't have, you cannot take on everything. So in the 35-page report that has been presented to you, which aspects of the report are you interested in? Who are the people you have lined up to pick? Because now the public will say any and everything, and that puts a spanner in the works for you.
You see, for investigations that border on criminality, sometimes the information that they put out is not always what the public should hear. You understand? So I would sit here and think that the OSP is aware of all that the public is saying. But for their work, if they should listen to what public is saying and look at perception and so on and so forth, they will have issues with the way they operate. So maybe, yes, we'll have our concerns and we want them to come and answer to kill the perception. But I don't think the objective on a daily basis is to kill public perception. Because their work is a criminal investigation into corruption and corruption-related activities, which demand evidence. So the way that they have the report before them, the individuals listed in the report, they will have to do primary investigation themselves to raise prima facie cases against them before maybe they put out.
But William, I think that because that sometimes also creates gives them a loophole, because if we say, well, what and that is true, because there are some investigations where they have to be so calculated that if they listen to perception and put out information, it can jeopardize the investigation. But on the flip side, what if they say, well, because of our special nature, we can't let you know? Then what happens is that there is a gap that we all we can say.
You see the perception gap.
Or even
that. It's a perception gap. That's why I started by saying that they, on a daily basis, will not look to filling those perception gaps.
That's fair, but I'm saying,
on a daily basis,
because of their if they say we have our own way of doing things and we can interrogate that, does that cause problems? Because anybody can say that, hey, we have a special way of doing this. We don't have to tell you anything.
You see, yesterday, for example, the OSP tweeted, because it had become necessary following all the noise about Charles Bisu, he going to court, and how the media was even couching the headlines to say warrant, court scratches warrant, and all of that. It became necessary for the OSP to put on Twitter and say that we don't need a warrant to arrest. The OSP sat for a long time when it issued the notice. And you know, in Ghana, once your Twitter is put there as wanted, people think that you're already guilty.
Oh, yes.
But the problem...
hold on. And people will go to bed with that, wake up with that. Your children will go to school and say your father is wanted, all of that. So you have already been branded. This clarification by the OSP that they don't need whatever to arrest is belated. That lacuna has been filled by public opinion already. It's belated. If I'm getting it wrong, tell me.
What I'm saying is simple.
But you put out a tweet after the man has been able to go to court, after you give the people the impression that the man is avoiding you and all of that. Then you put his picture up there. You have still not taken down his picture after the court has made a decision, because you say for you don't need a warrant. Fair enough, that's law, and that establishes you. But then the point is that if you don't need a warrant to do it, you have not been interested in clarifying this. Why has it become necessary for you to put up a tweet now? You see where the thing is. So now the public will start looking at you from a certain perspective.
But where William stands, because it's a specialized unit, the way that they do things will not always be in line with what we know. And that if they say too much, that can also jeopardize their specialized investigations. So on the one hand, I understand that point that the public cannot know everything, and the perception that they have, you also can't use that to also do your operations.
Nobody is asking the OSP to give a blow-by-blow account of their investigations. But the OSP knew long before it issued the warrant, the notice for the wanted notice on Mr. Bisu's head, that they have been inviting people. Some have honored, right? Including Professor Frimpong Boateng, who was arrested and given the opportunity to be granted bail, not by himself, but by somebody who accompanied him. Question people are asking is, so what if that person had not accompanied Prof? Would that mean that then he would have been kept in the cooler? That's one leg of the conversation. And to what end? That's the other second question. Now, I'm sure that the OSP did not just wake up one day to say, let's put up a wanted notice. The OSP had always known that we're investigating this. Mr. Charles Bisu is a person of interest in this investigation of corruption and corruption-related activities. So, where is Mr. Bisu? Why are we not finding him? Is his lawyer talking to us? Mr. Bisu and his team said, we spoke to the OSP, we told him our client was not well, he can't honor the invitation, yada, yada, yada. Did the OSP ask Mr. Bisu to direct him to appear? Did they ask him to bring his passport and other documents? To what end? You get the point. Now, if the OSP knew all of these things, why did the OSP not tweet ahead and say, we do not need a permit, a warrant to arrest? And then you go ahead and issue the wanted notice, and then now it kills the public thing. I'm saying this clarification on Twitter is belated because you let the cat go out of the bag, and now you are trying to do catch up. That's what the OSP is doing. You are doing catch up. And catch up doesn't help anybody in terms of communication, PR issues, and crisis management. It doesn't help anybody. Richard Kumadoe is joining us on the phone line, fraud and security specialist. Good morning, Richard, and thank you very much indeed for your time.
Good morning.
Apologies for holding you on.
I was enjoying it. That's fine.
Number one, let me ask you, there's been a new phenomenon of people's bank accounts being intruded. And you find, for example, in recent time, a contract staff of a bank who was able to rake in a lot of cash from people's accounts. You have worked in a bank before. You have been an investigator for many years, a security consultant and all of that. Is this phenomenon new?
No, it's not new. Considering the fact that I train all the banks, including the central bank, when it comes to issues of fraud, prevention, and money laundering, I wasn't surprised it's a contract staff, and I wasn't surprised of the account she decided to pick at, which goes to the fact that we need to do more in terms of training, and we need to educate both customers of the banks and those who work for us.
Now, how should people be approaching this kind of information, knowing that we are all encouraged to have a bank account, we are all being encouraged to run a cashless system, and then now we are told that there are people within the sector who may be taking away from us without our knowledge? How should we approach it?
Okay, so public education is critical. Customer service education is also critical. Then the banks must also do because they own a duty of care to their customers to educate their customers. And when issues of fraud occur, they must be in the position to speak and to address it as quickly as possible. Bank of Ghana, as a regulator, is interested in the number of fraud that has occurred in each of the banks. FIC, purposely specialized unit for dealing with money laundering, is also interested in which fraud has occurred and other elements of money laundering. YOCO is interested. Then the National Cyber Security Authority in the Office of the President is also interested in the modus of operandi. All these people are investigative agencies, and they are also there as regulators. They will need to synchronize their systems a little bit. They will need to have a convergence criteria. Then suspects will have a way of being arrested on time, and customers will have the safety and confidence in the banks. Other than that, huge sums of money being lost, it will put in fear and panic to the general public.
You mentioned that you were not surprised that this had happened. It sounds quite interesting for you to have said that. What informed that decision of yours?
When you look at the subject of investigation or the suspect, it's a contract staff. Then when you look at the accounts she's targeted, those are dormant accounts with heavy monies. And that has always been a red flag for many of the banks and for frontline staff office of the banks. So now, when they take the contract staff, they don't pay them properly. The contract between them and the contract staff do not normally go well. nobody pay close attention to the contract staff, and depending on the flexibility and authority they give them, that gives them access to many of these accounts. There's something we call callover, and you will realize that because of pressure of work, they don't do some of these callovers, and it aids the victims or the perpetrator to create what we call isolation. And once they have isolation is what causes fraud in the financial sector as quickly as bushfire. And when you look at it, you could see element of isolation there. You could see element of negligence of not doing the call over properly. Then you could also see the maltreatment of the contract staff. Now, we always be saying that nipa nyabwa. So these are people who work within the financial sector. They see the lifestyle of the permanent staff, and they don't get it. So if you don't keep a close eye, and the contract between them and their agency is not properly done, fraud is what you are leading them to.
Now, again, for me and my listeners and all of us here in the studio, what precautions can we take to avoid these criminals?
Okay, so from the customer point of view, you would need to be mindful every transaction that leaves your account, whether you are making it yourself or somebody is doing it on your behalf. For the banks, frontline education in fraud awareness is key. Then due diligence on third parties. Third parties, in these days in Ghana, they have outsourced many of their jobs to agencies that provide them contract staff. Due diligence on them, and due diligence will be background checks. In Ghana, we specialize on background checks. I remember I picked the PN form from the BNI, and we redesigned it for many of the companies that run background checks here. We've always been stressing on credit check, but then the banks, on the other hand, pay little attention to credit checks. And once you employ people or you have people on your premises whose background you don't know, particularly when it comes to credit checks, then they are likely to have access to certain sensitive information, and they could exploit it once they can see vulnerability.
How much money should you have in your account to be scared of these criminals and this cartel?
Any amount at all. What they can also do is to use your bank account as a decoy. And that can also land you in trouble, where you could be charged for aiding and abetting, particularly when you have huge sums in your account and you don't seem to know your relationship officer or manager. You need to be worried. There has been cases where signatures of customers have been forged and monies were withdrawn in their accounts and it went to court. There have been cases where checks of customers has been cloned. And there have been cases where some payment instruments have been cloned and stolen. So as a customer of the bank, the fact that you have money in the bank doesn't give you that safety or guarantee to relax. You must always be able to do your own personal reconciliation to see whether what you have in there is still there or some things has been taken out. And that is the only way you can be safe. Early warning signs and early warning detection of the red flags is what keeps you alert and safe as a customer of the bank.
Should you periodically, walk into the bank to check your bank balance? These days I know that there are other means of checking it digitally, but
definitely
you have people walking into the bank. Sometimes you go to the table and you can just write an account number on a piece of paper, say check my account for me, and nobody really quizzes you if the account is yours or not.
It's a major problem when you go to most of the banks now. First point of call is when they said you have to sign because of KYC purposes, particularly if it's a limited liability company where one party can go and withdraw money at the blank side of that person. So when you are opening an account, you give what we call the mandate. The mandate card indicates whether 1 to sign or 2 to sign or 3 to sign. Whether you are checking your balances or not, in most of the banks these days, all the signatures must be aware that balance on the particular account is being checked, and all of them are signed to that effect. Once that is also done, you can check it online when you have the permission. And online, most of the banks will also make sure that you will have to go through online due diligence verification to ensure that they are dealing with the right customers. What normally happens is that when isolation is created and a vulnerability is established, it can be exploited by people within the bank and by their collusion or connivance outside. Anytime fraud occurs within the banking sector, we have established that it is always by three people. Either there's two people within and one person outside, or one person within and two people outside. And it takes about 3 years at the highest level to detect. It takes about 18 months at the middle level to detect, and it takes about 6 months at the front desk to detect. This particular person seems to be a contract staff. Depending on the level of authority he or she has, it will take the bank within 6 months to about 27 months to detect the level of fraud and the trend in order to stop it. And that is what we have been training them, and that is what they need to take seriously. Other than that, many of these things will continue to happen within our financial sector.
What is the standard operating procedure? I mean, if you're a contract staff, what can you do and what can you not do? Because if a contract staff can have access to these credentials and certain portfolios, it must be a cause for worry, because literally the bank has just hired you on an ad hoc basis. You have one leg in and one leg out, correct?
Normally what happens is that it depends on your skill set, and it depends on the need of the bank. And it also depends on who is in charge and who is assigning you the role and the responsibility. The usual standard is that you will need to start from somewhere before you end at a very higher place. But if you have been a contract staff in one other bank or two other banks before you are getting to this bank, based on your skill set, then they can be confident that you have what it takes to perform certain roles. But then we work in banks where we talk to them something that say dual control. Dual control means that in some responsible position, two people must have access to what you do at the same time. Once they create isolation and you become the only one person doing it, the tendency or the probability of committing fraud is higher. Then you can also have people conniving with you or coercing you to do it. Normally, what fraudsters do in the banks that once you are contract staff, because of naivety and because you are new, they may play on your innocence and your intelligence and group you into their group, and they will ask you to be the front leader when it comes to a particular fraud. So before you say, hey, Jack, you have negligently committed a fraud, or your presence has been used to do some other thing that you are not aware.
Right. Now, I ask you this. You spoke about dormant accounts in the past, not so long ago. Does the bank, or must the bank call owners of dormant accounts? Listen, the account's been dormant for a year, maybe two. Can the bank send a text, call them, say, we haven't heard from you in a long while? If they don't get them, do they reach out to their next of kin to ask, okay, what's happening?
They do. They do. Even these days, Bank of Ghana has brought a standard rule that dormant accounts should be forwarded to them with the money in, so that once the customer appear, they will have to go through a process of reactivating those accounts again. So I think some church accounts have fall victim to some of these things. Some high-profile individual accounts have fall victim, which means that this might not be a permanent dormant accounts, but levels of activities on these accounts has been low, and because they are low, people don't really pay attention to some of these movements, one-off transactions that are huge in volumes, and once it is done, it is gone. When you also have accounts that activities are huge, they could also adapt a strategy where they take it piece by pieces. So they build a trend and they know where to hit and where not to hit. What the banks would need to do is to find a routine way of doing what we call segregation of duty, that don't allow permanent people to be at one particular place for a very long time. When you do that, they get to know the system. 3 years, they will need to move. And when you have contract staff, you will need to be mindful and watchful. They can use them as a ploy to commit a fraud before they say, hey, Jack.
Thank you, Richard Kumadoe,
You're
Fraud
welcome.
and Security.
And let me also say
Right.
that when you are operating as a law enforcement officer, as a police officer, if you want to arrest somebody, let it be made clear to the person that I'm arresting you and these are the charges for which I'm arresting you. You can do it on a certificate of emergency or you can do it with warrant. What is important is that people must be made aware why you are arresting them and what they need to do within those perimeters. Thank you.
Are you speaking in respect of the OSP and the Charles?
Exactly, because it's becoming too contradictory. And I was enjoying the conversation and all the angles and analysis you guys were making. If you say you are operating as a police officer, there's a standard procedure you follow. There should be nothing like you direct somebody, you invite somebody. No. Once you are the authority and you are the host and you are creating ambiguity in your language to your clients or to those people you are inviting, you might create a problem. Because, Johnny, do you know there are two things? You are either a subject of investigation or you are a suspect in that particular investigation. And once the person is a subject, the way we treat them are different from when they are suspects. And in relating to them and in communicating with them, the language will need to be clear so that people really know exactly what they are getting themselves into, particularly when it's a democracy and people are entitled to legal representation.
I thank you very much indeed for your time. Grateful that you could join us. And Richard Kumadoe is a fraud and security consultant. He's worked with the BNI and now NIB before at very high levels. He's consulted and worked in the bank, private sector, all of that. So he says the OSP must come clean. Well, we'll take a break. We'll return. Stubborn Academy.
Stubborn Academy.
So Abiam, who is the Stubborn Academy? Is that OSP Charles Bisu or Richard Kumadoe or who?
We said it's Johnny.
It's not me. It's not me. Please, I beg you, please. I am not stubborn. Hello, get stubborn. Ah, my God.
My people, Philadelphia, our very own Adansi Travels is 10 years old. I hope you remember what they did on their 5th anniversary with a 555 figure. And